afternoon. So let me just start by saying I am feeling better. I know I said that before and then I kind of backtracked, but I really feel like I'm getting back to my baseline, more stability with my health, getting out of this flare. So let me kind of just recap Wednesday and Thursday for y'all. So Wednesday, I was doing better. Then we traveled to, well, I thought it was St. Augustine, but it was actually closer to Jacksonville. And that night, I actually managed to have some clear soup, which is a type of soup that we ordered at a Japanese restaurant that I really like. It's really bland, but it tastes good. And I thought, you know, since I'm feeling better, I should try eating. I didn't even have that much, but whether it was the travel being a bit much for my body, or it was too early for me to try and eat, or just the nature of chronic illness, I actually ended up getting really sick that night at the hotel. I was up vomiting a lot of the night, and I got sick on their sheets, and I felt terrible. Like the next morning, I didn't get up with the alarm. Jada got up before me, which he knows if I sleep through an alarm that I'm really not feeling well. So he said, you know, careful when you wake up, there's a mess around you. And obviously I cleaned myself up and I went straight to the front desk. I was like, listen, I'm so sorry, we will pay for it, but I got sick on your sheets, like my feeding tube even leaked a bit. And the manager came out and said, don't worry about it. You know, a lot of patients who go to Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville use this hotel, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't happen before. It was like, even the feeding tubes? So she's like, even the feeding tube stuff. So they were very understanding. We will be using that hotel again because we will be going back to the geneticist in a few weeks. But anyways, I felt horrible that morning, and I was like, I gotta get to this appointment. Didn't even change. I just brushed my teeth and like try to put myself together. We got in the car and went to see the geneticist on Thursday morning. And despite it being ridiculously hard to get myself there, I'm so glad I did, because y'all, that was such an enlightening, productive, successful appointment. So when we got there, I was actually a little bit, I don't know what the word is, apprehensive or bummed out. I really wanted this doctor to see me with how I had been doing. Y'all know in the past few months, I've made a lot of progress with my health. I've been doing better. That's how I wanted him to see me, but I happened to be in this flare, and I'm like, I don't want him to think this is my normal. So I was like, I gotta make sure he knows that I'm in a flare. Typically, I'm doing better with my health. While the nurse was taking my vitals and inputting stuff in the computer, we were in the exam room. I hadn't met the doctor yet, but I suddenly got extremely nauseous. I knew I was going to start like dry heaving and retching. Like I had to get to the bathroom, so the nurse told me where it was. As I was rushing through the hall to get to the restroom, I crashed into somebody and I almost like puked on their shoes, but I was like, I'm sorry, like ran around them, got to the bathroom. It was fine. That was the doctor. And I was like, oh, what a great impression to have almost puked on the doctor. But he was really nice, because when he came in the room, he was like, so am I that repulsive that I'm making you nauseated? Like he was joking with us to try and make me feel better, because I was obviously very like just unsettled and flustered and not feeling well. But he has a good rapport with his patients. Like he's relatable and kind and incredibly smart. For once, I was seeing a doctor and I didn't feel like this complex, intimidating case. He was knowledgeable about everything, and I'm really happy with how it went. What helped a lot is that I brought all my records, all physical records I had of myself, CDs of imaging, office notes, blood work, genetic testing, anything I had, I brought it with me. I said, I don't know how much of this will be useful for you, but I thought I'd bring as much as I could to give you as much information on me as possible. I also had all of my physicians fax their records to him, so they had a lot of information on me. And he's like, you know what? It's good you did this, because it means I don't have to order as much testing, and then we don't have to wait for as much testing to come back before we can really start treating you. He said my genetic testing that I had done at Mayo Clinic and Shands was really thorough. He's like, there's no more genetic testing to do for you. We have your diagnoses. We focused on my mitochondrial disease, and I'm still only the second person in the world to be diagnosed with that specific mitochondrial mutation. And if y'all remember from biology, what are mitochondria? The powerhouse of the cell. They're in every cell, and when they're mutated, it can cause widespread health complications. And my mutation is homozygous, meaning all my mitochondria are mutated. Typically, mito diseases are heterozygous, where some are mutated. Mine is homozygous. And since only 2 people in the world have this specific mutation, my specific mutation doesn't even really have a name. Whereas I have a friend with mito, her mutation is more common, so it has a name and they know a bit more about it. But regardless, he's like, mito is mito, and we can still do more for your mitochondrial disease than what you've been doing, which is basically nothing. Because I went through genetics at Mayo, I went through genetics at Shands, and while they were good physicians and departments, I had always been told, yes, this mitochondrial disease is contributing to your health problems, this is the root cause, but we don't know much about this mutation, can't really do anything for it. We're gonna treat the resulting conditions and symptoms. I also have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is genetic, and I asked him, like, how likely is it that I have these 2 genetic components causing these health issues? I mean, that can't be likely. He's like, no, it's not likely, but it happens. I have 500 patients like you, not exactly like me with the exact same mutation or diagnosis or whatever, but similar. You know, they have mito or EDS and they have all these comorbidities that go with it. And he also added, and I'm very good at keeping them out of the hospital, and I almost lost it there, y'all. I was like, thank goodness, because like the whole goal for this year is stability, like no hospital stays, just making progress with my health. And he's really determined that he can help me, and I'm so grateful. So he did order some blood work, not genetic testing, just, you know, blood work to check a few things, and he started me on 4 different treatments. And he said as we continue in his care, he may add things, take things away, tweak things, but for right now, this is what I'm meant to be doing. So 2 of them are meant to be used on an as needed basis for symptom flare-ups, and 2 of them are meant for regular use to help with my mito. So the thing behind mito is that your cells really struggle to create and transport energy properly. One of the medications I'll be taking day and night now is something called levocarnitine. It's meant to treat carnitine deficiency, which apparently I have. He found it in my records. I didn't even know. Apparently a carnitine deficiency is very common in mito patients, and it's important to give your body the levocarnitine because you need the carnitine. It's a compound in your body used in metabolic processes. So he said this is going to help. And then I'm going to be starting a new infusion. It's D10, which is saline with glucose in it, because my cells can then use the glucose for energy, and it'll help my struggling mitochondria. And the D10 solutions are now going to replace all the other fluids I typically use throughout the week. So no more saline, no more lactated ringers. He said D10 is really what's going to be the most beneficial for my body. So the levocarnitine is used morning and night, and then the D10 solutions, he said he wants me to start using at least 3 to 4 liters a week, which is what I do now with lactated ringers. So basically just replacing the LR with the D10. But he said it's up to my discretion. If I'm feeling worse, I can use more. He said I can use up to 2 liters a day. But right now I'm just starting with 3 to 4 a week, see how that goes, and he thinks it's going to make a significant difference. Then the as needed medications for flare-ups is something called Marinol, which is a THC derivative, but it's a prescription medication, and he said not only helps with nausea in a lot of his patients, but also abdominal pain. So I was like, I am very happy to try that. And then he also prescribed me low-dose Ativan. I actually told him I didn't want it at first because I don't like Ativan. The only exception is when I'm inpatient. If I'm really struggling emotionally, then I'll use it. But typically, I just don't like that drug. But he said the Ativan is at a low dose and not for an emotional component. He finds that it works really well with nausea control and relaxing the spasms in my GI tract that result in the nausea and vomiting and retching and dry heaving. I've used all 4 of these this weekend already, and they have definitely made an impact. That's why I'm not hooked up to tube feeds right now, because my flare has resolved itself enough to where I'm able to take a break from my feeds and start eating again. And I'm feeling just better overall. He said it's going to take a little time to really see the difference, but it's already making a positive impact, and I'm really grateful. So the mito and EDS are my main diagnoses that contribute to all my other health complications. But he said we can't just ignore the resulting conditions. You know, we still need to treat my mast cell. We still need to treat my dysautonomia. He did go through all my treatments. Oh, he's pro-cannabis, by the way, which I think is great. But anyways, he did look through all my treatments and he was able to take some away and replace some with more suitable options. But as we give my body what it needs to support my struggling mitochondria as much as possible, he's pretty confident I'm going to see symptoms I struggle with frequently start to fall away. And mitochondria, he said mine has like manifested itself in many different ways in my body, but mainly it impacts the immunologic, neurologic, and gastric system. So in those areas, I should start to see more stability as we make progress with treating my mitochondrial disease. And also pain. Apparently mito can cause a lot of pain. So I'm just really optimistic to follow this doctor's guidance and really start treating and pinpointing the root cause to hopefully help the resulting issues. Tomorrow, when I am doing my new treatments, I will show y'all and like take you through the process. And I do also want to add that, like any medical condition, mito can affect each warrior differently. Even people with the same exact mutation can have totally different outcomes. That's why it's important to understand mito as a whole, but also when creating treatments to really focus on the individual, just like this geneticist is doing. And I'm going to put a link to the United Mitochondrial Disease Foundation website in the description. If y'all want more information, that's a really great place to start. So we walked away from this appointment with a lot of information. I'm so glad that my friend told me about this geneticist, because after going through Mayo and Shands, I really didn't feel like another genetics department could do much for me, but he blew my mind. By far, he is my favorite and most knowledgeable geneticist I have seen. And that's saying something, because Mayo and Shands are really good hospital systems. But anyways, he did tell me mito is very rare. It's not well known and it's not curable. But that doesn't mean there's nothing to be done. He was actually pretty flabbergasted. That's what I'd been told all these years. He was like, no, there's things to be done and we're gonna do them. So that is my update for y'all. Again, I hope this information was either useful to someone who may be in a similar situation or maybe for people who just want to learn more. And with that, I will say goodbye. And thanks for joining us on our adventure.